Today, we're diving deep into a journey of transformation and heart, a story of how one man's path shifted from the bright lights of Hollywood to a more fulfilling chapter dedicated to making a difference in the lives of seniors. What inspired this remarkable transition? What stories lie within the pages of his captivating book? Well, stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we're back. Hello, everyone. Caren Glasser here, and welcome to the Author Spotlight. Today, we are in for a treat with my guest, Michael Peikoff, and a surprise guest, I'll tell you about that later, who has not only penned an incredibly engaging book, but also woven his personal experiences and passions into a mission to impact the senior community positively. So, Michael Peikoff, welcome to the Author Spotlight. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great, Caren. It's so nice to see you. Can you hear me
It,
okay?
we can hear you. If our viewers only knew how much fun we have been having behind the scenes, they would
Yes.
just be
You
thrilled.
are the tech evangelist. So
Well,
you made it happen. It's all you.
made it happen.
I'm
Yeah.
honored. I'm honored to be here with you today, Caren. Thank you for having me.
Well, I don't, what our viewers don't know is that you and I go way, way, way back when we were young children. We grew up together, and how wonderful to be able to get back together and to see what you've done with your amazing life. You were with the Fox Broadcasting Company, Warner Brothers, with Consumer Products, Sony Pictures, 20th Century Fox, you name it, you check all the boxes, you've done all that. What made you, first of all, make this shift to go from Hollywood, what you're doing right now, writing books, doing senior programs, making a difference?
Well, that's a great question, and it's a key question. I spent almost 30 years in the entertainment industry, starting as an intern at the Fox Broadcasting Company back in 1987. And I enjoyed a career in marketing and publicity and retail business development, promotions. And then, unfortunately, my kid sister, and I could say that because she used to call me her big bro, my kid sister Lori passed away at the age of 54. And
Mm.
I had just started working for a first in class, best in class assisted living company called Belmont Village. And when Lori passed away, I basically said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do anything, whether it was entertainment or working in a building. So I wound up gathering myself after Lori passed and went through the grieving process and then started in earnest working with seniors for the next 7 years. And it's just been you may have seen in my book, Caren, that, and on my LinkedIn page, I have a line that I live by. It's on the back of my business card that says, I used to make a living, but now I make a difference.
And
And
it's true. That's not just a slogan. It's just not a saying. That is actually, Michael, how you live your life, right?
yes, it is. And I'll tell you, don't get me wrong. I had some amazing years in the studios, notwithstanding the knives I'm still pulling out of my back, from the politics that exist there. However, having said that, I morphed into working with seniors because it was so meaningful and so gratifying. And it's important to note, that my own mother, may she rest in peace, died of Alzheimer's. And Lori and I were together at my mom's passing. So I had a front row seat to that insidious disease. And then I went to work for a hospice company in Century City, California.
Mhm.
And that was a very, very enlightening process of working with people at their end of life. And I just found at the end of the day, instead of going home and worrying about press releases and celebrity ego, I was worried about families and their offspring and how they were coping with the loss.
And so here you are, and then one day you decided, hey, I think I'm going to write a book.
Yes, yes. Oh, you got it. You're so sweet. Yes.
Except it's backwards.
So
Go ahead. We're going to talk
no,
about us.
you got it perfect. You got it perfect there, Caren.
Well, it's kind of backwards. So, the book is called A Smart Man Wouldn't Have Thought of That. First, let's take a look at the illustrations because I'm going to bring Fred in just a second. He's actually already here, but we're going to, officially bring him in. And it's the wit and wisdom of your father. So your father's name was Elliot, right?
Yes.
And what do you call these wit and wisdom things?
You are such a great interviewer. I call it Elliotisms.
Say
And
that
you got
five
to know
times
the
fast.
you've got to know the history, Caren. For years, back when I was working with Fred Bode at Sony, my mentor, Fred's mentor, and I, is a man named Dan Romanelli. I used to walk down the hallway in the Triangle building at Warner Brothers Studios, and Dan would walk by me and say three words without skipping a beat. He'd say, "Write the book," and keep walking. And
Oh,
then I'd see him the next day, write the book. So for years, I had people in the industry that had heard me quoting my dad ad nauseum, making people laugh out loud. And then so many people were saying, "When are you going to do this? When are you going to do this?" And last year was the year that I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for my dad. I'm going to do this for myself. And by the grace of God and Kismet and Karma, Mr. Bodie called me and volunteered his peerless services,
amazing.
and it all sort of came together. But the book was written in 2024.
So you've now mentioned your partnership with Fred Bode. He's a very talented illustrator who actually brought the book to life, right? 2 decades of experience in the entertainment industry. You worked, your bio is so impressive. You worked with J.K. Rowling. I want to hear about that. And I also want to talk about how this team came together, the two of you, to create this amazing book. And we're going to be telling people how they can get the book because we want them to get the book. It's a small book, right? It's a very small book, but what
Yes.
it is, it's so powerful. My husband read it. My son read it. Everybody's reading this because it's striking a chord. Fred, why did you want to do this?
It's because over the years, Michael and I have created such a friendship and a bond. We've been through the wars together. He supported me, I supported him. And it's always been a thing of mine to pay back. I'm a big believer in karma, and to people who take care of you, you take care of them. And when Michael called me and Dan Romanelli called me, the minute I heard it was a Michael project, I just couldn't say no. I said, of course, anything for Michael, I'm in, count me in. And then when Michael and I started working on it, um, I just felt the passion, the love, the respect he had for his father, and it kind of transitioned itself from just a project to something that had much more meaning behind it. And in our world, when you can work on something like that, it's a very special gift, and they don't come along very often. So it was just something I had to do. I had to help Michael, and I hope Elliot likes what I did. Um,
I know he did.
but it was just something I was compelled to do because of not only the man behind it, but because of the message and the homage he was paying. So
Right. And so I'm assuming the way this worked, Michael would say, here's an Elliotism. He would say it and you'd say, I have an idea, and you would create the design. Did you then work together to make sure, or basically you did your expertise on your own and brought it together? How did this work? I'm just curious because you're both so talented. How did this work?
it was very much a back and forth. Michael and I would talk about the different Elliotisms, what he was trying to achieve. And I got a real nice history of back download of his father and what his father meant to him. And I just went away and I started sketching. And sometimes Michael would have input. How about something like this? Something. So it was a great collaboration, a back and forth, if you will. And I got to be honest with you, I've worked on a lot of projects in my life. Once we started collaborating, bingo, it came across really fast.
It was magic, and it is. It was totally magic. And because of this book, Michael, we kind of shift into what you're going to be doing now because first of all, I'm sure you have the book in front of you, right?
I have it close by.
Okay, so Michael, one of the things that you did that actually got you on this next road of this next chapter, what you're doing is you would read the preface of the book, right?
Correct.
Would you read some of it for us right now?
Oh, sure. I'm going to have to just go right 3 feet over and get my book. But before I do that, let me
Yeah.
just respond. a little bit to what Freddie said. It was a labor of love working with Fred Bode. And we sat down in Patty's coffee shop in Toluca Lake near Burbank, very close to where we worked at Warner Brothers together. And I said, Freddie, here's a thought. And he goes, I like it. What about this? And it really was a give and take. And then he would go back to his art table. He'd send me over stuff. And 9 times out of 10, Caren, they'd come back like letter perfect. And I'd say, well, maybe make his tie. I mean, it was like I couldn't find anything wrong with what Freddie did. Everything the guy did was a home run. So it was really like, I like to joke when I tell people, he goes, what people say to me, what was it like working with Fred Bode? I said, it felt a little bit how John Lennon and Paul McCartney must have worked together.
Wow.
It was a seamless and harmonious thing where, there was no ego involved. I never said to Fred, oh, this is got to do this, got to do that, because I have so much respect for Fred's peerless ability that it really was a labor of love. And the fact it's so important to mention this, because I've thanked him 1,000 times. The fact that he wouldn't let me give him a dime, and he did this for me gratis out of love, meant more to me than you can know, because Fred is a very highly regarded, highly sought after illustrator / artist. And so this book, Caren, wouldn't be the book it is without Fred Bode's illustrations. In fact, if you look at the Amazon reviews, and I encourage your viewers just to go on there and see the almost 35 5-star reviews, almost every one of them alludes to the illustrations were awesome. The illustrations brought the book to life. The illustrations were unbelievable. So this book would not have been half the read if it wasn't for Fred.
And truly, there's a love fest going on here. I can see the love fest. And it's true, though. I mean, I think the words without the pictures or the pictures without the words wouldn't have had the same effect, right?
Let me jump over and grab a book.
You go jump over there and grab the book. And when Michael comes back and he starts to read the preface, what you will see over his voice are some of the pictures from Michael's growing up with his father. We have some great pictures, so take a look at them as Michael reads through the preface of the book, and enjoy the pictures and the word.
Elliot Peikoff was my hero, and he was my father. He was born in a very small town, Grandview, Canada, not far from where he would grow up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Talk about a hard scrabble life. He was born in 1919 to Abraham, Abe, and Esther Peikoff. They were dirt poor, but they were generous with anything they had, and my grandparents had hearts as big as Canada itself. This kindness would become embedded in Elliott's DNA. In fact, his kindness would become his superpower in business later in life. And so would his peerless sense of humor. Abe ran what was known back then in the 1920s as a mercantile store. He was the original Sam Drucker, selling everything from overalls to anvils to burlap pound bags of sugar and flour. Elliott's humble childhood was spent stocking the shelves and making deliveries on a rickety old bike. His character, his self-effacing wit, and his work ethic were shaped by working for his father. Then tragedy struck. Abe was taking out the trash one bitter, cold Canadian morning when he was run over, literally, by a team of horses. He was rushed to a nearby clinic of some sort, and a steel plate was placed in his head. Abe was strong, and he survived, albeit with a paralysis in the left side of his face. In addition, his speech was irreparably impaired. Naturally, Elliott was devastated, as he was just a boy in the 9th grade. In fact, the 9th grade would be his final year of formal education. Abe needed my father to run the store now, and Elliott took the reins without reservation. Flash forward a decade or so later to a restless young man who moved out west to Southern California. Abe had sold his store and gave his blessing to his son. With his 9th grade education and a degree, Caren, only in charisma in tow, Elliott became the world's greatest salesman. And that's stated without bias. He just had the innate God-given talent. He started out selling asphalt paving door to door and morphed into a manufacturer's representative in consumer electronics. And the role was right out of central casting, as it afforded him the opportunity to interact with, quote, buyers at large mass merchants, now long gone, outfits such as Gemco, Fedco, the Akron, Whitefront, and Zodi's. Those now retail dinosaurs used to rule the earth long before Amazon. He honed his unparalleled salesmanship and, quote, fall over humor, unquote, and rose to the top of the charts as a rep for Lloyd's Electronics, a popular brand in the 60s and the 70s. This was pre-Apple, pre-Samsung, pre-LG. He used to say, quote, Lloyd's is a brand for every man. They even named the company after a guy named Lloyd. Quintessential EP. He sold the daylights out of those clock radios and mono stereos. I was a bit of a hit at my friends' bar mitzvahs. This book is written with an abundance of love, reverence, and gratitude for my pop. It was my father's dream for me to join him in his business, but it never worked out. Like George Bailey of It's a Wonderful Life, I wanted to do something different and bigger in my own mind. My respect for my father, though respect was enormous, identical to how George felt about his pop Peter in the movie, I learned that I just did not have his passion, for calling on buyers. However, I studied him intensely as he interacted and sold to these buyers, who often would break out in laughter and then pull out the pen to write the treasured purchase order. Those would become his two favorite words, purchase order. To witness these grumpy, often sour and jaded men transformed by my father's searing wit was an absolute marvel to witness. I understood on some level, even as a young man, that I was witnessing greatness. I'm humbled to share some of my Elliott's genius and gems with you. I fondly refer to them simply as Elliotisms. He would have liked that because he was a very simple, yet incredibly intelligent man, whose brevity was the key to his success and profound facility in dealing with people. In closing, I employ these very same Elliotisms on an almost daily basis, often by the request from my friends and colleagues. They will say things like, hey, Mike, give me an Elliotism. And I, too, personally try to kill him with the same sort of kindness, humility, and humor that made my father a singular sensation with people of every stripe, socioeconomic background, color, or creed. He passed away on March 15th, 2007, at the age of 88. My stated goal is for his legacy to live on in the hearts of both fans, past, present, or future. He admired and grew up watching Charlie Chaplin to no one's surprise. As you may recall, Chaplin famously stated, quote, a day without laughter is a day wasted. Elliott subscribed to this quote, and his legacy is proof positive. I genuinely hope that you enjoy reading this small collection of his timeless classic lines almost as much as I enjoyed writing about the man I call Dad. Thank you for indulging me, the president of his fan club, Michael.
Wow. Bravo, literally. And as you were speaking, Michael, we were showing pictures of Fedco and Jump, all those different things, and pictures of your dad. And
oh, great.
Well, we played them over, so I know that we really get a picture, literally a visual of who your dad was and who he was to you. Clearly, clearly you loved your father. And that is, you can't make that up, right? You have, and I know your dad is just loving the idea that you are out there sharing his Elliotisms right now. Totally loving.
Thank you.
Totally loving that.
Thank you, Caren.
Now you mentioned during this that you really want to make a difference here, right? And so you are continuing your work with the senior placement, and you are now launching a book tour. I mean, how cool is that? You have launched.
It's really full circle. I mean, it's so funny because I started off, as you noted, in entertainment, morphed into working with seniors,
right,
and then became an author along with Fred Bode's great work. And then I got a call from the executive vice president of Belmont Village, who you may know, your readers may know, Belmont Village is the gold standard for assisted living, independent, assisted, and memory care, Alzheimer's. And I got a phone call from a woman named Carlene Motto, who's a brilliant executive. And she said to her senior VP, a woman named Debbie Riley, I'd like Michael to come and participate on a Zoom call and speak to our national team. And they called me and they said, would you be willing? I go, what time do you need me there? 5 o'clock in the morning? I'm there. Long story short, I did that. They purchased 100 books, which I went over 2 weeks ago to Burbank, Belmont and Burbank, signed the books to all of their executives. And then they asked me, would I be willing to go, quote, on the road down to Cardiff by the Sea, La Jolla, Rancho Palos Verdes, Camarillo, Westwood, Calabasas? I said I would love it. So starting next Thursday, Caren, I'm doing my first book signing in Calabasas to the residents. I'm going to be reading them the book, and I'm going to be showing the Elliotisms. And my goal is, because my dad was born in 1919, most of the residents at a lot of these communities are in their late 70s, 80s, 90s,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to relate to sort of, I call Eliot's humor sort of analog.
Right.
It was like Will Rogers.
Right. And
It's none of the stuff we're seeing today.
absolutely.
You
And
know,
it's kind of labeled like as an inside book tour, right?
yes, it's an inside book tour, and then hopefully that'll morph into me being able to one day do something at Barnes and Noble. But right now, the fact that I get to go back to a place I worked for 2 years in Encino, in their Encino community, and read to these wonderful generation and make them laugh and smile, I couldn't be happier. So it's funny, the whole thing came back full circle.
Well, as I said, having known you as many years as I've known you, I am so proud of you. I am so
Oh,
proud of what you have accomplished here. And I'm sure that if somebody would say which part of your career, which part of your life has the most meaning, I think right now, what you're about to embark on is going to move people in ways that they haven't been moved before. And you're taking Fred along with you because the illustrations are here in this book and they are going to just love this. And I'm putting a word in for you for Barnes and Noble. You should be on a Barnes and Noble tour as well. So
Okay.
we've got to get that happening, okay? I'm going to
And
make that my
Karen,
personal.
if I can add something to this, Michael's book, um, it gave me it touched me very personally. And what it did is I was is understanding Michael's love for his father. I was understanding what he was trying to convey, what he was trying to preserve and just give to the world. As I'm working on this book, it actually caused me to reflect internally about I lost my parents years ago. And we all go through this crazy day-to-day life and we're trying to make a living and we're stuck in traffic and we have a tendency to forget. All that stuff goes in the back drawer. What what Michael's book also gave to me and the time I worked on it, it gave me cause to reflect on my own parents and what they gave to me. And it brought back a flood of memories. So it was not only a gift to the world, but personally, it was a gift to me. I mean, I now think I need to talk to my parents and my mom and dad a lot more. And I've actually contemplated ways I could probably do something for my folks is the way Michael did for his dad. So there was a real personal side to. So Michael's always complimenting me and thanking me for doing it gratis. He has no idea what kind of gift he gave to me by allowing me to participate in
I
this.
love that. Fred, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I have a similar what Fred is saying. My parents are still alive. I'm very blessed. My dad is 91, my mom is 89. They both still work and they both have their things that I attribute to them, right? The things
Oh,
that my dad says, the things that my mom says. My mom says all the time, there's the only thing that is constant is change. She says that all the time. It's become a joke in the family. So what you have done for us, Michael, is opened up this wealth of memories that
yeah.
we all are having flooding back. So for that, I thank you. Uh, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. Now, I know that people are going to want to know how they can stay in touch with you, how they can connect with you on social media. I know, Fred, they can find you on LinkedIn at Fred Bode. Just look for Fred Bode, Bode. You can find Michael as well on LinkedIn at Michael Peikoff, Peikoff. Michael, you're also on other different social media, but again, your name. Look for your names and their names, and you will find the social. And then emails. So you both asked me to give emails out. So you want some personal connection, which is so amazing because that doesn't happen in this world anymore, personal connection. And so I'm going to give emails out right now. You can reach Michael for his senior placement services. If you are a person that has parents that need to be placed, you need to call Michael. And you're going to go to Michael Peikoff at iCloud.com. And Fred Bode's email is bode.fredc@gmail.com. Any last thoughts that either one of you would like to share with our audience before we say goodbye and thank them for joining us?
Well, first, I have to say thank you to you, Caren, for just being such a facile communicator. I remember you back at Sinai Temple. You were always ahead of the curve, and you are just killing it today. And I'm so proud of what you've done with your career. Fred, what you may not know is Caren was also an amazing cantor, singer, and just incredible. And this is her second or third act. There's a lot in common there. But in closing, I just like to say, you know, this book has resonated. And Fred and I talk about this. There are days I call Fred and go, Fred, did you see that review in the licensing letter? Did you see that review on Amazon? It's like Sally Field. They really like us. Fred, they like us. It's like I was like so afraid when I hit the send button and this thing went out. I think I told you the story, Fred. The metaphor, Caren, you'll appreciate this, was a guy doing his first Broadway play on the Great White Way, and he spent 3 hours pouring his heart out. And when the curtains come down, he's behind the curtain going, please applaud, please applaud, please applaud. I was so worried that, it was this, it wasn't that. The reviews started coming in, and it was like, oh my gosh. I called Fred. Fred, we have something here. So it's been beyond humbling. I did not set this out to get salutations, or I just was doing it. I told people say to me, oh, you're going to sell thousands of books. I go, look, I didn't do this for ROI, which is obviously return on investment. I did this. I came up with an expression, ROH. This is a return on the heart. I did this for my pop. I don't care if I sold 11 books, Caren. Fortunately, we sold a few more than that. But anyhow, it's been a labor of love. Mr. Bode, what do you got to say?
Last thoughts, Fred.
As artists, we're all on a journey from beginning to end to work on a project that touches. And whether that's music or poetry or an illustration, doesn't matter. Our goal as artists is to always make that human connection, somehow touch the heart. And to have a job come along, which obviously I felt passionate about, Michael feels passionate about, and to see those responses coming back, all I can say is touchdown. We did it. We actually touched people. So,
Yes.
Again, it was a wonderful experience. It brought Michael and I back together as good friends after some time separated by worlds and families. So I've gotten a myriad of gifts. I'm a very lucky man. So that's
Wow.
what I gotta say.
Wow. Well, first of all, a big, big thank you, Michael, for opening up your world to us and for sharing your father and yours inspiring journey. And a very special thank you to Fred Bode for his brilliant illustrations. And to everyone listening, let's make a difference, just like Michael and Fred, one act of kindness at a time. And if you'd like to let us know what a favorite thought or expression from your parents or from somebody in your life, we want to know because this is going to make a difference. We want to know. Fred, you had your hand up over there. I think you wanted to say something. Yeah?
No, I just wanted to emphasize what you said, make one difference, and that's worth it. That's worth it.
Absolutely. Well, people have a choice as to where they spend their time. And we want to thank everyone for spending time with the three of us today. Go out, give somebody an awesome day, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.
Take